What up, everybody? What up? What up? What up? How's it going? How's it going? Gotta get my vocals right. How's it going? So, Richard Bird here, and on today's episode of Ask the Birdman, I want to talk to you about my Monday uh, post-church checklist. And so, I kind of put up earlier today the list of, or if you will, the checklist of what I do on just about every Monday to get stuff to my clients, also to kind of get my week started, making sure that we're getting everything that we need to have happen. And so that's what happens in my morning checklist. So I will see people still coming in. Just let me know that you're on. Go ahead and just hit throw some hands in the air or something. Let me know if you can hear me, and then we'll jump right into this list. Explain to her. So I have to thank Miss Griffith. She said, "You know what? You need to go ahead and explain what this stuff is, because we don't know. You need to go through this if you could, and just let us kind of walk through what it is that you do and why it's important and what it looks like." And that's basically what tonight's webinar, if you will, is going to be, or our live is really just going to be about. So this is my Monday post church checklist. And so here's the background. Monday for me, or Monday in how I teach folks, is the real big beginning. Sunday, although that is the highlight for most people, Sunday is not the final. It's just the beginning. It's what we've been practicing all week. It's not the end, if you will. Sunday is just what happens. The real work is what goes through in ministry between Monday and Saturday. So that's the premise. And so here we go. So the first thing for me is and these are not actually in any real order, but they're just kind of how I go through them, is to send an analytics report to the pastors. Now, especially because we are online, it is easier to track what's happening. It's easier for you to get a good baseline of who's coming, what the demographics look like, how can you work that. And let me see if I can find what one of those looks like. Every streaming platform that you're on, Facebook, YouTube, your own online, your website, all of those things are going to have a place where you can get analytics. And in fact, here's a really good tip for you. I never send direct links to wherever it is that I'm holding my stream. So if my stream is on YouTube, I don't send people to youtube.com/ whatever that is. What I do is I create a vanity URL. So if it's, J. Richard Bird, it'll be jrichardbird.com/live. And the reason I do that is because I can then track how many people click that link. I don't necessarily always get the best or the most accurate from YouTube or Facebook. And so I try to put a bunch of different things together so I can tell where they came from. There's also what I'll do is I'll often put vanity domain links based on where I sent it. So if I send the link through email, it may be jrichardbird.com/EM live or live EM or something like that. So I know that it's email. If I send it through text, it may have TXT appended to it. That way I can really track where people are getting their information about what I'm doing. So this is just a sample one of an analytics report. This tells us that we had 325 unique visitors that came in, 202 at the peak, that there was a total time of 14,000 minutes, and the average time attended was 43 minutes. Now, for those people who are doing analytics, you really need to have 2 to 3 weeks of this before you can really get excited about what's happening. And your pastors will get very excited about the 325 or the 202. I get excited by the average time that the person stayed on the link. How long did they sit and watch? Because that tells me how engaging that particular video was going to be. So I send them an analytics report that basically just tells how many people came, how long they stayed, and some other stuff. If you're using Facebook, you'll also be able to get some demographics about their age and things of that nature. That only makes sense for you when you're ready to start doing the marketing pieces of what you're going to do. So first thing you do is send an analytics report. This is what's going on. This is what we do. The second thing I do, again, these are not in order. There is a weekend brain dump for me. The weekend brain dump basically is just, what did I see? What problems did we have? What do I think we can fix? What are the ideas that I caught? This is also the time where I write down the different parts of the video that I thought really resonated with people. Meaning, if I saw someone say, preach this, pastor, say that again, that type of thing. Those are all the kinds of notes that I'm using and putting together because it's going to make sense for me down the line when I start marketing and cutting up the video into smaller chunks. For a lot of my clients, we do a replay. So I spend time putting that into replay. So what replay system is, or may be, if you did your video first on Facebook and you wanted to replay that, you may choose to pull that video and replay it somewhere else. For a lot of my customers, a lot of my clients, that is an automatic thing, but I still go through to make sure that the link for the replay of the Sunday service is still intact. Now, editing the services for YouTube, Facebook, and website on demand. Let me just spend a second on that. I have other videos that I'm going to do or that we're doing and we're in the process of making that kind of goes really, really into detail of each one of these pieces. So you'll have to catch those later. But we edit video. So when we're going live, we're going live on a Sunday. What I do is I'm also recording that to a hard drive. I'm recording that live either at their church or at my house where we are going to hard drive. What usually happens, it means I get a much cleaner copy of the video. And when I have a clean copy of the video, I'll often replace the bad quality, if you will, video on some of the social networks. The second part of that is each network has a different amount of time, meaning there's a certain amount of time. Instagram is only a minute. It's only 10 minutes if you do IGTV. And this is at this time that I take the video and I cut things out of it. The third part of that is I try to make all of my videos that are happening during the week to be evergreen, meaning that you don't necessarily know that this was for a certain specific time. So if the video has praise and worship, I cut that out. You usually don't have licensing outside of the live to put that. So we cut the praise and worship out. I cut off announcements, anything, usually just the word. That's all I use. Save. And then that goes back into YouTube, Facebook, and then if we're doing on demand in the website. Now, my clients do podcasts. It is at this time after I've made that cut that I use different software to strip the audio out of the video. Because here, let me tell you, your pastor clients, the first thing that happens when we start talking digital marketing, content development, content creation, any of that stuff, is they feel that they have to create a bunch of content. I am of the mind that most of the stuff that you have to do is really about repurposing. Your pastor or your leader already does a ton of content. They create a ton of content just by preaching. And inside of that content, I have another class on content creation, repurposing content for churches. We talk about how do you take the video, then you cut the audio. The audio becomes a podcast. You take the transcript from that, and that's what becomes notes, becomes a transcript, all of those features that you can use later on down the line. It's at this part. We strip the audio for the podcast. We add a pre-roll and a post-roll, meaning we put something in front of it, usually a trailer. If you were here at the beginning of the video, I have a pre-roll. This is my pre-roll. So yeah, we throw something like that in the front of the podcast. We throw something like that on the back end of the podcast. And then, of course, after we've done that, it's time to upload them to the podcast services. Now, before I move on to this next little piece, understand this. Just because I do all of this on Monday does not mean that it is scheduled to happen right away. This is just what we do to pull this information so that we have it available for the times that we want to have them go out. And that's why this next step of creating the social media posts is directly related to what pieces of content I need to have available for me for that week. So if we're going to do a Wednesday night Bible study, then I do social media posts for that or create them. If we're doing a replay, we create the social media posts for that. If we're going to do this podcast, so the podcast has been stripped, it's been edited, it's now available or will be available. What day is that going to happen? We now create all of the collateral for that. That happens between Monday and Tuesday, that we create all of the collateral for what's going to happen that week. Then we schedule them. So again, just because you have something available to you does not mean it has to go out right away. So Monday, you're not hitting people with 10,000 things. You have enough to give you 3 or 4 posts for the rest of the week, because you can now drip this content out to them. And that's what creating all of this at one time, creating all the social media posts that go with it, and then creating the schedule for what goes out after that. That's why this is important. This is an administrative thing that my church administrator usually does, but I wanted to put it in here because it's something that I check. That is inputting the new visitors into Planning Center. Now, your church may use some other kind of church database that is out there, Fellowship One, something like that. If you don't have a church database, I highly recommend Planning Center Online. The people part, which is where you would put this information, is free, but it's robust. And in a digital environment, you need to make sure that you are following up, not just with guests, but following up with your congregation. And Planning Center is something that really works incredibly well with that. It also has a place where you can create digital forms. And so throughout the live or throughout whatever we're doing digitally, we'll post that. Hey, if you're a visitor, hit this link, fill out this form. If you're a visitor, text, guest to this number, they'll receive a digital form. All of that information gets put right into Planning Center. On Monday, I'm checking to make sure that's happening. making sure all that information gets put into that system, because this is what's super important. Making sure that your visitors go into some kind of guest follow-up, meaning they get an email on a certain day, they get a text on another day, someone calls on a different day. In fact, I have a whole class on this, where I go through my digital system of how I follow up with my guests. How many days do we leave in between each one? What happens if they say yes, they click the button? What happens if they say no? What is the follow-up? This is the secret sauce of how we get people to stay and come back, and also invite more people. So we put the guests in the guest follow-up system. That's something that you want to do. We do a video or a text thanking people for coming. In fact, I just finished editing that video for one church, and it's nothing major. You can just say, we had a wonderful time. I have scripts for this too. Thank you so very much for coming to our church on Sunday, or, visiting us online on Sunday. We looked, God was good. I can't remember exactly what I wrote in the script, but it's along those lines. It's all about getting people and engaging them, not just on Sunday, but on Monday. And this is probably the most important. If you do a Wednesday night Bible study, you need to be recording that Bible study on Monday. And in fact, you probably should have recorded it on Friday, so that your team has more than just 5 minutes to get that together. If you're someone who's going to be going live with your Bible study, then on Monday, you should be recording all of the intros and all of the invites for what's going to happen on Wednesday. Digital and video requires you to be about 2 to 3 days ahead. If you can get 5 to 7 days ahead, you're great. If you get more than that, then you are a rock star. But, I was telling someone earlier today, there was a story this past week of a church that I don't know what the reason was, but it took them 72 hours to render the video. And in the course of that, ended up not even being able to have church service. So, so I felt so bad for them. I was like, I could have helped or something if I had known. But yeah, that's what you're dealing with. That's my list, my checklist of what I have. If you want to get a copy of it, you can go here to jrichardbird.com, Monday resource, download it, get on the newsletter. The news list. I will be doing more of these this upcoming week, now that Easter is over with, and now that the big weekend, because again, as I said earlier, for me, it's about what happens after the Sunday morning service that is the most important. Go there. You'll also be able to, in the first couple of emails you get, you'll be able to find the resource on how I create my guest follow-up. And again, this is going to be a course over the next couple of days that we'll be finishing up that kind of goes more in depth into each one of those parts, each part of the list. So cool beans. If you got any questions, coming up on 20 minutes, pop some questions over into the chat area. I'll answer them. Anyone I see Takoi. Hey, girl, waving at me. I see Crazy One. Hey, man, how's it going? Anyone else on there? You go ahead. You can throw some questions up on there. If you are in the group that is watching this, I can't see your questions, but I'll go over there later and do a private video for you if that is, if I need to. So, any questions? All right, cool beans. Thanks a lot. Let me get rid of these banners. Thanks a lot for coming. I hope that helps you out. I hope that gets you started moving in the right direction of making your church excellent in what it does. Again, any questions, just hit me up. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. All right. God bless. Peace.